back to my channel. This video is a sketchbook flip through, a little tour. You guys requested it on my Instagram page, so I thought I would do this visual for you. So starting with the first page spread, this was before the Divine Feminine stuff really kicked in. There's the analysis on the left hand side and the artist's artwork on the right. We often did artist copies throughout different projects, and I suppose you could say it's to get a feel for the artist's technique and like I guess what was kind of going through their creative minds when they were. So we always started with those. The left hand side is kind of covered in graphite because of the artwork on the right. I've looked through this book in the past couple days before filming the video, and I'm just there are a few pieces in here that I'm quite excited to share. So yeah, let's move forward. So this next double page spread is a set of collagey pieces. You've got some biro, like different media, biro, graphite, pencil, and then there's some bits of paper that have been cut out in different shapes. So this is a lot of observational drawing, and it's again just to kind of warm up at the beginning of the project. So on the next double page spread, we have a set of different collagey bits as well. So like 4 different collage pieces. So these drawings are just like observational drawings again. I took some photos of different kitchen utensils in the food tech department. I actually remember doing that. These are monoprints, which is when you roll ink on the table and then you put paper over it and then draw over it. And then I just went over with biro and I did some cutouts in the different images. So that's what you can see here in different colors. Again, experimental and quite loose. And then on the next double page spread, I have more drawings. Again, just like quick drawings, small squares. I think there are 48 drawings across those pages. And then now we come to the mind map and mood board. I was going to rotate the book, but then I realized that wouldn't work. We're going to keep it this way, but basically we have the mind map on the left side and the mood board on the right. This is where I just spill out my ideas, and in the middle I've actually written the Divine Feminine, and then I've done my best to reflect my subject matters in the mood board. And a lot of them are just random pictures I found on Google, but they all reflect something, some kind of feeling or idea. Each one I've kind of linked to another one in an attempt to find commonalities between the themes and come to a more cohesive point. And it's all still very loose at this point as well. So on the next couple of pages, we have some more observational drawings. These are actually from primary photos I took of myself, and I was just doing different poses, and then I did sketches focusing on the shadow and the light and the different curves and crinkles and whatnot to just get a feel for the images. And then on the next page, I've called this sort of analysis shadow play, and I've done some more drawings from the pictures I took, which aren't visible here, but I've done some paintings, I've done some coloring. The skirts are done in acrylic paint, and then my legs are done in colour pencil using Crayolas. This is not an ad, just so you know, those pencils are the OG pencils, the colouring pencils that we love. And then on the right side, I've done biro drawings, just again looking at the details, the light, the shadows. I really like these pages. I think they came out really well. And then I've got annotations in between about my observations. So on the next couple of pages, it's a lot looser. There isn't a focus on what the imagery looks like. It's more about meaning and research. And I've got textural pieces here, tape and like string, and I made a braid it's about the feeling, these 2 pages, just random bits. And then I've got research, which says, what's so bad about public displays of self-affection? And that was a question I asked myself during this project. And I guess without really realizing, you could sort of tell that this was like the beginnings of the Divine Feminine really budding. There are more textural pieces as well, like paper clips, and I really just stuck some random bits down there to kind of kick into the feeling side. And I also did some etchings into milk cartons actually. But the next 2 pages are focused on observational drawings of that previous page, but it's just more of a development. I did some bits texturally that I just observed and drew in biro and pencil. And then on the other side as well, I've got kind of collagey bits to kind of create a Photoshop effect where I've cut up images that I took and then just collage them together. Again, tapping more into that emotional feeling side versus it making logical sense. I guess you could liken it to a type of surrealism, which is an element I didn't really appreciate that deeply when I was at school doing this work. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, this is actually amazing. This is actually pretty useful. But yeah, I was just pointing to these flowers because I actually took pictures of these really beautiful yellow flowers when I went on holiday with my sister to Seattle. And you can watch that vlog because it's on my channel. Okay, back to the book. So these pages here are more like observational paintings, drawings. I guess you can consider them all drawings, but these are done with paint, watercolor, and I think there might be a touch of acrylic in there. And then I've got the paint palettes in the background just to kind of bring it all together, because I like to show what colors I've used in the observational drawings themselves, and they're a nice touch to the background. And also, instead of throwing these things away, I like to use them as part of the final work, because one, it just reduces waste, and two, it shows the process. So the next pages, again, more collage stuff. There's a lot of this, as you can probably tell, more etchings, and I think these etchings are better because you can kind of see more of the image in the milk carton etching. But here I'm looking at a seashell that I've done a monoprint of, just like right now, very little context. However, we're getting that aspect of the divine feminine slowly creeping in, and I've got my annotations, my observations. These 2 pages are like some of my favorites. This is another artist analysis I did of Tim Okamura. He's this amazing artist and his artwork is just phenomenal. And this piece here is another artist copy that I did of his work, and the piece is called Saint Tag Girl with an Afro. I did it in acrylic paint, and over the top of it I've got a sheet that just details part of my artist analysis printed on tracing paper, which is a cool idea that I had because I wanted to see the artwork through the paper, and that was actually a bit of a hassle to get printed, even though it was done on the industrial printer at school. But I'm so glad that is a feature in my sketchbook. If I could do it more, I totally would. Like, I just think it looks really amazing in a sketchbook. And I've got the paint palette there. I highly recommend that you go and check out his work. He's even on Instagram, just Tim Okamura. His artwork is a big inspiration in the Divine Feminine project for me, in terms of the style of painting that I really love. Like, everything from the highlights in a t-shirt and the creases in the back to the different colors in her skin, I just love. And he displays a deep appreciation for Black women. So continuing on, I have another artist analysis. The previous one I showed you is like more focused on the themes and the subject matter, and also the style of painting, as I mentioned, because I really love it. And the second one here about Agatha Wiertz-Bicker, who is the artist that I was looking at for this sort of style of painting, if you will. It's more about the foliage and the feeling of like nature, and so I'm gradually bringing those elements in. I've done this piece in watercolor. Also, the fun thing about artist analyses as well is like, yeah, you can see what media the artists themselves used, but also it's kind of an exercise in observing what you can see in an image and how you might replicate certain details and textures. I chose to use watercolor to just portray this foliage, and it's actually called Foliage 2, I believe. So next we have some more paintings. These are more observational paintings from the pictures that I used for my drawings. And these are done in acrylic paint and watercolor. And actually for these pieces, I purposely watered down the paint for the backgrounds just so I could see the positioning. I think I also wanted to test out what it looks like to potentially have the writing show through. But in the end, I didn't go for that style because I felt like the paint looked too watered down. So on the next pages, this is some research I did from a Roxane Gay article about like her basically just talking about how society views and polices her body. I kind of highlighted a lot of key points, keywords that really stood out to me and elaborated on them in my own perspective or like in the context of my project. So that was also the fun, I feel like, of doing certain research, is that I feel like in my artistic process, the research wasn't necessarily about just looking at and analysing what other people say, but it's about picking out what stands out to you, or to me in this case, and elaborating on it within the context of what I want to say. So it's not just lifting certain bits and regurgitating them. And then on the right here, I've got screenshots from TED Talks that really inspired me from different Black women, just like speaking their truths, speaking their minds, and letting the people know. Yeah, there's some really cool ones there. One is called Ain't I a Woman? Another one is To This Black Woman Body. And the third one is How to Survive Being a Black Girl. So if you want to check this out, you can. I love a good TED Talk. I'm all about it. This is not an ad. I just feel like I have to say that again to let you know. But yeah, moving on. So this is another study of leaves and foliage and just bringing in nature. I did some like little, I don't know if you can call them like origami pieces, but some little origami leaves. I've got collaged cardboard bits, painting from like just with watercolor with like droplets and things on the leaves. And then funnily enough, I actually laminated some real leaves and put quotes in there that stood out from some research articles that I had in my book. And I wouldn't, I do my best to minimize plastic usage in my artwork. at the time I just felt like this was kind of a good idea. And also my teacher recommended it. So I was like, you know what? Whatever needs to be done to elevate this sketchbook, because let's be honest, I was trying to get a grade. I did not get the grade I was looking for, but baby, I gave it to myself because I deserve that. You know what? It's okay because we speak our truth anyway. So one of the quotes inside the plastics say, everybody wants to be black until it's time to be black. I'm sure you've heard that one before. And the other quote says, the ideals of beauty and talent and brilliance have long been synonymous with whiteness. So I was really exploring society's relationship with blackness and vice versa. And yeah, maybe the girls didn't like what I had to say. I don't know. The exam board weren't feeling it. This is what the project is about, really. This is the beginnings of just opening up that throat chakra. And there's actually also an article here. I won't go into detail because it's not really the focus of the entire project, but it's, I don't know if you've heard of you may have heard of the Tawana Brawley case. If you want to look it up, you can. This is a bit of an intertextual reference to the film Do the Right Thing, directed by Spike Lee, which I absolutely love. And in the film there's a scene where there's graffiti on the wall that says Tawana told the truth. So I incorporated that in my project because I felt like it speaks to black women being seen and not really heard and respected and listened to and all these things. So I just incorporated that because I feel like it tied in a little bit to the kind of direction I was going in. And then on the next pages I have some more observational studies, some more collage, some more mixed media. It gets a little bit scrappy here because again I was under immense pressure and I was studying 2 other subjects, German and film studies, so baby, both of which I did well in, if I do say so myself. So I've got like more leaves here, that's a block print, and then I've got different kind of inky prints, a lot of fun messy stuff, and then I've got a turtle drawing that I did using oil pastel, different explorations with acrylic paint used in different ways, bit of biro. And then the next pages are more research and analysis of my layout and the kind of things I want to highlight. So I literally picked out words from this article and made them bigger and magnified them, just bits that kind of stood out from this article, and a quote here that says, I'm fed up with the appropriation of black women's bodies. Then on the left side I've written at the bottom what my focus was, and I wanted to kind of highlight them and use them to make placards in a sort of protest fashion because I was in my protest energy, and yeah, I just wanted to highlight certain things. And then on the left I have images from a photography session I did to look at the arrangements I wanted to use for my final piece. And we did a lot of different pieces. We would have development pieces, mock pieces, and then the actual final piece. So a lot of work went into deciding what would be the main focus by the end of the project. And I actually still have these pieces which I will go on to show you. So the next pages show the placards that I was referencing, and essentially I have plucked out those different statements and just blown them up. So one says cultural appropriation doesn't become theft, it is theft. And then the other one says quote unquote progressive white women, you need to quit. And I've done them in 2 different styles. And then I've also done these really beautiful biro drawings of leaves and droplets, which I'm actually really proud of. I really kind of want to get back into biro drawing, so I'm gonna have to think about that. But back to the book, I did them in different styles, and then I actually made bigger versions for my final piece, which I don't think the girls liked, but you know what, like I said, we were here to bring a message. So but yeah, I had to say it, innit? So, okay, next pages, we have some clay pieces that I did, just more textural experiments, which I took photos of and put in my book. And I actually ended up painting these pieces and putting them in the kiln at school. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the way they look now, but it was all for the experiment. It was all for the testing. There's a lot of stuff that I made that I wasn't 100% happy with, which is great because that's not the point. The point is to develop the ideas, develop the process, and then come to a place where I am happy with it and it does amplify what needs to be said. So here I've got an arrangement, a mock piece arrangement of some of the developments I made, and there I used cardboard and different bits and bobs to paint on. The circles are actually upside down, which I'm not sure the technician was aware of, but it's all right. I noticed that. But yeah, I did some paintings and pieces and put the placards with them, so I could kind of begin to really visualize what I wanted the final piece to look like. And then here I'm actually demonstrating what the clay pieces ended up looking like. As I said, I'm not too happy with, you know, the general colors and stuff. I guess they're okay. I think the leaves are all right. It's just to really bring these images into perspective. And then here I have the placards that I made, the final placards, really bold, backed on cardboard. They are a lot smaller, but you can imagine them being like protest signs. So that was the idea. And then these ones are the circles I did, which I'm really proud of. I love the acrylic paint. I think it looks a lot more bold. So I'm kind of just learning to really thicken up the paint and not water it down so much, because it was tempting to water it down because it's easier to spread. But then I realized that actually that dilutes the image. So I started to kind of really practice using the paint as it is without as much water. And the leaves just came out so beautiful. That's how they're meant to look, upright. I did a lot of upcycling, like using cardboard and experimenting with different canvas types. There's even artwork that I haven't shown in this video because this is mainly about the sketchbook. Some of it is even still at school. But yeah, I'm going to show you as much as I can. And then here I'm just going through the different canvas pieces I did that are also in the image. And the idea with this was to paint on top of some of the articles that I printed that stood out, and in a way that you can even read quite a bit of some of them to really see what the idea is behind them, which I love. They're a little bit rough around the edges from transporting and storing. However, they are some pieces that I value, and some of them you can even see on my website. Here's another one. This one was like the collarbone one. The idea was for the leaves to really become part of me now, part of my vessel. And I love this back piece I did. I don't know if this is on my website, but yeah, I have the leaves coming out the back, kind of like wings almost. These ones are from pictures that I took of my arms, and then again looking at the shadows, textures, the light. The paint here is a lot thicker, and then there are more leaves. So the next pages now are quick drawings I did of myself, pictures that I took of myself, and there's different media. So there's biro, there's tape, we have collage, we have ink, I believe there's oil pastel in there, felt tip pen, and colouring pencils using different paper. And I love the black paper. I think white and any colour really stands out beautifully on black paper, just highlights the shadows and highlights in different ways, and negative space and all of that. So I think it's really beautiful. Yeah, this one at the top is my favorite. So these next pages demonstrate more quick drawings. These ones have a little bit more detail, more color, and these ones are 10 minutes. I think the other ones maybe were like 2 minutes each. And then yeah, I've just got pictures of me, and the inky drawing on the right hand side is my favorite one, hands down. There's a necklace at the top there, which I loved. I actually had that necklace. My cousin gave it to me, and sadly it's now in pieces because the string broke, but you know what? I immortalized it and all is well. This is a drawing that I did ink and water. It was more like pen, inky pen and water, because it didn't smudge that much, but I did add a bit of water to the thicker lines just to make the lines softer, to make the image soft, and kind of get like a little bit of a manga kind of vibe from this drawing. So it's quite fun. That one's quite fun. These next pages show more quick drawings, more techniques. There is sgraffito here, which if you've not heard of it, it's when you colour with oil pastel and then you paint black over the top and then scratch into it once it's dried. So this is actually a fruit bowl. If you can like sort of make out the oranges, you might be able to, you might not. And then I've got more quick drawings up the top. And then on the right hand side, I have some imagery representing what kind of composition that I want for my work. There's some really like ethereal looking bits and bobs. I'm not sure which artists are which here, but there are different pieces from different artists that I've looked at. I think Danielle Clough is one of them, who did the embroidery tennis rackets. There's a piece of art there that I've seen on Pinterest, and then it's the Afro woman who kind of looks a bit like Oshun. And then there's some Frida Kahlo at the top. They might be images of Frida Kahlo by other people, I'm not entirely sure. Then we've got a piece by Madame Muse, actually, who another artist I love who's on Instagram. And then some pieces in the middle here. I'm not sure what the artist's name is, but I really love these layouts. I even wrote the artist's name in my essay because I had to write an essay as well. But I really liked the kind of halo element behind these deified women, and I just wanted to portray myself in that light. So I started to really look at composition here, which leads us on to the next couple of pages. I've done some more loose kind of experimental things, textural things I've taken photos of. I actually created a mod rock cast of this teapot just to kind of pick up elements and shapes that I liked, and I used some twine to create some more shapes of like earrings and cowrie shells and bits and bobs I wanted to kind of maybe highlight in my work. On the right hand side, I have a couple of photos of development pieces that I created to represent the forest deity Aja and the water deities Olokun and Yemoja. And there's also an information book that I created for my own research with just bullet points with different attributes that each deity has. In the Yoruba traditional religion and like the diaspora spiritual traditions, my first introduction to these topics, which I'm super interested in, and I'm learning so much about my roots. Even now, this is 3 years later, so yeah, I'm so grateful for this project. And moving on to the next pages here, I have some photos. Some of the photos I used, some of them you may recognize from my artwork. And I literally just stayed in our school playground way after school, after everybody had gone. My teachers were still there. I would have got locked in if I had really kept going because I was having the time of my life. On these pages, I'm essentially just evaluating which imagery I want to use, which I will probably not use, and bits and bobs that I've contributed in other ways as well. So here are some of the development sketches that I did in watercolor to just test what compositions I might want to use, different pieces of art that I want to create in different shapes, and I've put the inspiration, the photo inspiration next to them. The main point is that I wanted to see versions of myself deified in these formats, you know, because I'd seen all kinds of mythological Celtic deities, European deities, but I hadn't seen anything that kind of reflected my roots in the same way and my cultural mythology and my cultural traditions and spiritual elements, figures in the same way. This is the point in the project where that was really becoming the goal. And you can see some photoshops on the next page of the artwork that I created off the back of that. Here's a sticky note of something I was meant to do and never did. Because by this point, I was just like, I've done so much, I'm tired. I photoshopped the pieces that I did paint in different colours just to see what they might look like if I were to use different paints before I settled on maybe natural colours or different colours. Let's just put that back there, a bit of a relic of the past. The next 2 pages are more Photoshop work that I did, or like collage work, I suppose you could say. And I've just really decided, okay, how am I going to make this layout for my final paintings? They do look slightly different to the final paintings, but yeah, this is like the beginnings of deciding what composition I was going to use. And then I've taken some of the paintings, the developments, and just analysed them, analysed what I like and what I'm going to change, etc. Done a lot of annotations. A lot of analysis happens in this process to really bring it to a point that I'm pleased with and in a way that communicates what I intend to say, really. So next we have tiny little swatches. I wanted to test out stitching into paper, so essentially these are just different little bits of painting and drawing that I did on different bits of paper, black paper, cardboard, wallpaper, newspaper, calico, and then I've stitched into all of them on the sewing machine. Some of them ripped, some of them didn't, but I really enjoyed the stitching element actually. I think it worked quite well in some examples, like this first one, the earring, the white on the black. It actually came out really nice. The texture does come across really well, and I did use this technique in one of my final paintings, but I didn't stitch into the canvas itself. I had to make a piece and attach it on because it was already stretched, so I wasn't going to be able to do that. The next little mood board is a demonstration of textures again, looking at different artists that I've used quilting. And I then went on to experiment with different little quilted pieces because that was another thing I wanted to include. And I was applying to fashion uni as well, so you know that was something that was good to include in my sketchbook to show that interest. So I made some quilted bits, like some stuffed pieces. I painted onto calico and then I sandwiched some wadding between 2 bits of calico and then stitched into it to create this quilted effect, which I loved. I loved doing it. It was so therapeutic, and I did use that element in my final piece in the end. These earrings came out really good. Then I just did some analysis, as you can see behind it. I've tied them into my sketchbook there and then written about them. Then there's some more analysis. I've done little paintings and then just talked a bit more about my themes and subject matter. Then I've got my painted swatch there as well. On the next page here, it's another little photography session where I'm kind of starting to look at whether or not I want to incorporate an environmental element into my work, which I didn't do in the end because I felt like the angle was a little bit far off of what I wanted to actually say. However, I did do this test just to show that I'd explored the idea of plastic straws and oil spills and the impact on the oceans. And I've got a couple of observational drawings / paintings. The next pages are background experiments and then pieces that I've drawn underneath just to show what artwork might go on top. And please ignore the pages coming out because this book is thick now. Like, she's really gone through it. I crammed a lot of work into there, so the spine couldn't handle it anymore. There's some more drawings underneath, and this ocean piece I did here, this first sketch, I actually really love it. If that was a piece on its own, I would love that. However, I had to go ahead and develop it further, and I love the final piece too. I just recognize that there are different developments in here that I really love. And then you may have seen these before. These are my ocean and water prints. If you like, you can actually purchase these prints in my online shop. They are available on eBay. They come in roughly A4, roughly A5 sizes. I say roughly because the dimensions are slightly different. However, those are the rough sizes. These are the initial developments I did. Some slightly more developed initial developments that I did of these pieces and conveying these deities. And yeah, I've got more annotations around them. Then here we have Photoshop developments of the same idea, just exploring what artwork might go on different backgrounds that I created. Then we have the composition that I've sketched out, analyzing again, and then we have the composition of the final pieces that I created. I also did a fabric piece using that quilting method that I showed before, and it's quite a big piece. However, I didn't really amplify it as much as the final piece in my triptych, just because I wanted them all to be canvas pieces, the ones that I put out on social media. However, this is another representation of Agile that I am quite proud of. So this is the end of my sketchbook tour. Thank you for sticking with me through that. That was something. I hope you enjoyed this insight into my process. And if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Remember to check out my other videos. If you really ride for me, then you can just go ahead and let them all play. Why not? But yeah, thank you so much for sticking with me till the end of this video, and I hope that you enjoyed and that you learned something. If you're interested in the art stuff, then you can follow me on Instagram at Moreni_K_art. All of my social media links will be in the description box. You can also purchase my art prints from the Divine Feminine collection on eBay. That information will be in the description. Feel free to let me know what you thought of this video in the comment section, and what else you might like to see. If you have any questions about art, yeah, just hit me up, let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.